Is everybody in? All right. I'd like to call to order the Green Mountain Water Sanitation District regular meeting of May 9th. It is 6 o'clock. And move right into call, seeing who's here.
Call to order.
All to order. I
Declaration.
just did that.
Todd Hook's here.
Thank you.
Dave Wickman's here.
Karen Morgan here.
Roger Wendell.
All right, we have a quorum. Item number 2 on the agenda, director's matters. Do we have anyone wishing to disclose? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 3. Approval of additions to and deletions from the record. I'd like to call to attention that we had an amendment to the agenda yesterday. We added item 10B, which was a supermajority vote for extraterritorial service. I would also like to, I need to correct item 5 on the draft version. That is election results and curing the board vacancy. Those are 2 separate things. So I'm going to move to
Can we make them a 5A and a 5B?
5A and 5B, sure. 5A election results and 5B curing the board vacancy. So I move to make those 2 separate items. Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I would also like to add a brief legislative update to the item 10C under director's matters. So moved. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Director Wendell. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Hands. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. And finally, I did not an addition to, but can I ask what happened to April minutes? There aren't any on the.
We have not, I emailed the company that does the minutes and asked them for them and said they're behind, so I haven't received it yet. Sorry, I apologize. I haven't received it from the contractor.
All right, thank you. All right, that moves us into item 4, public comment. Per past motion of the Board of Directors, members of the public wishing to address the board during public comment period are asked to keep the comments civil and related to the items in the agenda or to the conduct of the district's business. Members of the public wishing to address the board will be recognized by the board to maintain proper decorum. Since the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District Board values your input, we always offer additional opportunities for the public to provide comments by using the district's email system or by phoning into customer service in the event they do not get on during the meeting during the period set aside for public comment. Do we have any public comment in the room?
Yes,
Yes.
I think I'm here for 5B, obviously, but would now be an opportune time for me to
Yes.
chat by myself or you, or about myself, or we want to wait for 5B.
Let's hear it.
I have the board, okay. Stand up. Mike Yost, I know Karen, of course, Jeff and Dave met. Talked to Jeff on the phone a little bit the other day. So I'm Mike Yost. I'm a retired civil engineer. I retired in 2018, almost 5 years ago to the day. And threw my hat in the ring for the election at that time. And it was Jeff, Alex, and Adrian were the 3 board members that got elected in that election. So, okay, that was great. And then 2021 comes along and I got I was recruited on a very strange reason. I was still very interested in the board. I do follow along. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, Jay. I think you choose that. I was flattered to be recruited, but that got real weird real fast. I don't know if you remember, Karen, you were knocking on doors, handing out pamphlets about, you guys did want to obviously recall. We chatted a little bit and I joked at the time that I was about ready to give it to you guys to campaign because I realized what, how weird that really was, but you hung in there, Dave. So I guess so can I. So fast forward, the irony is that, I was thinking of throwing my hat in the ring again in 2025 because Jeff was going to be term limited out, there being opening, and I thought that made sense. Well, things accelerated rather quickly, so I put something together, sent it to Jeff last week, and here I am. So again, Mike Yost, I am a retired civil engineer after 40 years of professional practice, all around civil engineer, but mostly water resources and water wastewater engineering is my passion. I really love the subject matter. Lived here 20 years, members of Christ on the Mountain Catholic Parish across the street. Both kids went to Green Mountain High School. Both kids have taken classes at Red Rocks Community College. And as a consulting engineer, most of my client base was local government authorities. All throughout the Midwest and Rocky Mountain West, but more locally here in Colorado, city of Thornton, city of Greeley, city of Loveland, Arapahoe County, Mesa County, on the other side of the hill, Mesa County, city of Grand Junction. We did the work for, was it Arapahoe County Water Wastewater Authority, did some work for them. Also airport authority. So as a practicing engineer, I was mostly water resources, water wastewater, specifically to local government, a lot of cities, counties, municipalities, and local authorities. So right in my strike zone. Okay, so I'm still very interested. A couple of thoughts. Oh, the other thing I mentioned is my daughter and her husband, and they settled here with my daughter. She goes to Dunston Middle School, which is of course ground zero of the infamous pedestrian bridge, right? Which I have to say you've handled that well. You've had to take some arrows, but at the end of the day, the water sanitation board is not in the business of owning, operating, or taking the liability of a pedestrian bridge. So I appreciate you guys kind of hanging in there on that one. You handled that well. And then as I observed last meeting from last month, you guys touched on a subject matter that I really piqued my interest in. There are a lot of federal dollars out there for infrastructure right now. Right, we know what we're talking about. So this is something I do know about as a professional consulting engineer. By the way, I am still a licensed professional engineer in the state of Colorado, but I turned 65 and saw me eligible for member status here later this year. I'll study that right out. But as of now, I still am a professional licensed engineer, correct? So anyway, my experience is to the spoils go the aggressive when you're looking for federal dollars, whether it's directly through the federal government or with the state or local agencies. Those that are aggressive are rewarded. These people, these agencies, these state agencies, they have these federal dollars, and it's their job to move that money and get these projects going. And so you mentioned low interest loans or loan forgiveness. And there's grants and there's other things. So my experience is the money flows to the entities that are aggressive, have projects. I won't say shovel ready because that's a stupid thing, but ready to go projects that are ready to go. Because that's what these people do for a living is they move these projects forward. So that might be an asset I can bring to the board is my experience with pushing for federal dollars. Again, whether it's directly from the federal government or for these get funneled through state and local agencies. And you have was it CDPHE, of course, but there's also DOLA, Department of Local Affairs. And so there's a lot of programs. And so meshing the capital improvement programs you have in works with federal funding, I think now's the time to really hit that hard.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I'll stop there and any questions, I'll just hang out and see where this goes.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Go around the room. Would you like to make a statement? Or have anything to say?
You know, I sent a resume and information. I worked with Stonegate Village Metro District. I started there in 2000. You can read the information. I know how board meetings go. I go every month out there and we can really drag on. You have all my information, my skills, everything. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, good. Thank you.
You're Charles, is that correct? Okay.
I like to.
Oh, that's good. I'll let her go now.
I'm Katie Zalskowski. I'm here representing our community group who is still hoping for a resolution on access for the pedestrian bridges. When we're being so. Spirit against me.
Thank you. Would you like to do it now or after?
Yeah, I'll just, so, Katie, just, something with this pedestrian bridges, you guys' time. It would be better spent with Lakewood. There is absolutely no way this water and sanitation district can do what you guys are asking. The time and effort needs to be spent with Adam Paul, the mayor, and that city council, and the rest of them, and get the city manager to get off the schneid and leave this water and sanitation district alone. We're with you guys. It's just, there's no absolute possible way. I say I'm not in this anymore, but I'm just telling you how it's going. There's just no way. The effort needs to be with Lakewood. And then on the resolution for the super majority, I would ask if you guys would maybe look at posting that, putting it out to the public. I know there's all these different iterations. I would suggest possibly a delay on that, on the vote. And you guys are doing a great job, and thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks so much for all your service. Provided some great guidance.
Excuse me. Can I say something again? It's about the bridges. Jefferson County would be good to contact, but there's a lot of lottery money. Stonegate, for instance, we get 40,000 a year for just whatever we use for parks and rec from the lottery. So it's real profit. It's probably a better chance.
Thank you. See Amara online.
Good evening, everyone. First, I didn't realize Jeff was going to be there, so I want to thank Jeff Baker for everything he's done and how meticulously and conscientiously and authentically he represented the people and the constituents of the Green Mountain Water Board during his, I'm sure he'll remember this fondly, as his fun tenure. But thank you, Jeff, for everything. Congratulations, Karen, and congratulations, Todd, on being reelected. Oh boy, aren't you happy? But thank you very much for both of your service and congratulations. My comment is about the appointment of the 5th member of the board tonight. But I don't see Randy Little here. Did he withdraw his name from being appointed as one of the possible candidates to be appointed? Because I understood he had submitted himself to be appointed along with anybody else.
Yes, he submitted himself. He did not.
Okay.
withdraw.
All right, then I'll continue. So my point is that we were lucky enough, as synchronicity would have it, that Jeff left, coordinated with an election. And so we just recently had an election where voters chose, stated support for or not 3 candidates, coincidentally. And I would urge the board to represent your constituents by appointing tonight the person that had enough passion and enough interest to put himself forward for election and to get 1,209 votes. He received 38% of the votes made. No candidate received 100%. He only received 15% less than the next person. And again, 1,209 constituents in Green Mountain voted for this person who was the only person that had enough interest to put themselves forward as a candidate. So rather than 3 people tonight simply selecting one person, I would urge you to allow 1,209 people tonight to select the only person in the Green Mountain Water District that was willing and interested enough to put them forward for the election and to share their views with constituents before tonight. I feel very uncomfortable with an appointment of anyone that we don't know the views of when we do have a candidate that shared their views. So thank you for your consideration. Thank you for your service. And I appreciate you letting me speak.
Thank you. Lenilla?
Good evening, board. Congratulations. Yay, we won. Congratulations, Tom. Congratulations, Karen. Damn it, Jeff, what are you doing? You had to buy a house far away. You couldn't stick around and smell the music around here. All I want to say is I want Dave Gardner. I'm going to nominate him. I don't know if I have the right to nominate anyone, but I'm going to nominate Dave Gardner. He did it once before. He did a great job. He is in tune with all of you. So let's get Dave Gardner in here again. Did he even sign up to want to do this again, or did he do
Yes,
David?
It's in there.
All right, I'll leave you guys alone. Great job. Need to finish that ravine though. Let's take care of that business. Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Henderson?
Yes, good evening. Good to see everybody and especially Jeff. Hi, Jeff. How you doing? I just wanted to highlight real quickly. I shared with you all a blog that I put out today when I saw the proposed amended agenda regarding supermajority vote. And there's probably too much material in it, but I just wanted to share with you some of the highlights of the history and the authority story to highlight that this might be a wonderful opportunity to make a formal statement regarding extraterritorial service and conform the rules and regulations, which appear to have been written at a time when the board was heavily influenced by the developer wave and perhaps had a stronger interest in those passions at an earlier time. Given the change in 2018 and going forward, it might be an opportunity, as I say, to return to the roots of the district, the service plan, as opposed to the characterization of the district's purpose and mission in those what I would consider to be outdated rules and regulations. So anyway, good to see you all. I know you have a busy schedule. Best wishes and Godspeed.
Thank you. All right, anybody else online like to make a comment? Seeing none. We're done here. We'll close public comment. Okay, and move on to item 5A, election results. Mr. Lee, could I ask you to update us?
Sure.
Thank you.
So CRS is your designated election official, and they've run your election. You had a contested election, obviously. May 2nd, last Tuesday, was election day. You know, you basically know the results, but the election is not technically finalized yet. The canvass board is going to be meeting on the 11th, and they will certify the final formal results. After that happens, either CRS or I will circulate and administer the oath of office to the re-elected directors After you take the oath, which must be done within 30 days following the election, we will file it with the clerk and recorder, file it with the district court, and send it to Department of Local Affairs. So in June, you will have, well, at the next meeting, following the 11th, you'll have your newly constituted board, which, you know, all signs point to being the currently constituted board. But the election is not technically final yet. So that's why tonight is happening.
We're waiting for the overseas mail-in ballots.
That's part of it, yeah, yeah. For all those, yeah, those military voters.
Okay. So not,
Stay tuned.
stay tuned. So we are filling our roles as incumbents tonight, as this is still the old board. No matter what would have happened, the old board would be sitting here and hopefully not making bad decisions for whoever would be taking our places tomorrow.
Hopefully. You got 2 days.
I would like to congratulate all of our Green Mountain residents. I took the time, I looked through other special districts. I made a list of, I was gonna report on all of their election results. Looks like about 10% of special districts in Lakewood had an election. We had enough people interested in running that we had an election. We had enough people voting to have a pretty good turnout. 10% for a special district is not good. So we have people who are interested in caring in our district, and I think that says a lot about us. So I appreciate everybody who tunes in and takes care of our district by paying attention. Thank you very much. All right. Any other questions, comments? I wanted to also say, we had a question about the ballots that I did ask CRS about, because I was confused about the ballots too, just how to fold the envelopes. Did anybody else notice that? And after the question, I was like, well, yeah, I should ask. And she said that basically you're supposed to know to fold the ballot, the secrecy envelope inside out, so that the print wasn't shown on the outside, and that little window was meaningless. So I did not know that, but I guess that was what didn't matter anyway. So any other comments about the election?
What you're saying, I assume nobody got thrown out because they didn't do the secrecy sleeve.
Yes,
Okay, I didn't hear that.
yeah, that's my understanding anyway.
Yeah, that is not a spoiled.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and that's why I did it. I had questions afterwards, like, I don't think you're gonna get disqualified for that, but you never know, I've been wrong before.
Yeah, anything else? All right, we'll go on to 5B then. We have a vacancy, and we have, again, a lot of very qualified people applying here. And I have to say again, thank you, everybody. It's astounding that we have this many people. One thing I do want to say is that I know from talking to them, we heard a little bit here tonight, it was not the fact that some of them were not interested in running, but they did care about the district, and they saw the way the election was shaping up, and there were some people who just waited until the next time, and this is the next time. So things would have gone differently, I do believe, if we had known Director Baker would have resigned earlier. So that does make a difference.
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
I've looked over all the candidate statements. I don't know how we're going to proceed with this, but in my mind's eye, this is going to be really difficult. There are 4 very qualified people. And I don't know how this unfolds, but.
So I can tell you how
Okay.
how it can,
Okay,
not necessarily how it will or how it should, certainly. When there is a vacancy, the appointment of a director to fill that vacancy is in the discretion of the board, so long as it is a qualified elector and resident district. Or qualified elector and owns real property in the district or resides in the district, and is otherwise qualified to be on the board. There is no obligation to publish the vacancy or notice it or solicit candidates, or even interview anyone or do anything like that. The board can just appoint someone. It's my opinion, actually, that you can just pick somebody at random in the community and appoint them. I don't recommend that. If you do not do it, within 60 days following the occurrence of the vacancy, the Board of County Commissioners of the county in which the district sits can make the appointment. I have never seen that happen. I have never heard of it happening, actually, but it is a statutory provision. But it must occur, any discussion regarding filling a vacancy must occur in open session, and it needs to occur by formal action. So it'll be, somebody needs to move to appoint somebody, have a second, have discussion, then have a vote. And if no one is elected, you know, you have a 4-member board currently, so it is possible that you don't come to a majority. You do it again next month.
That helps quite a bit. Thank you.
Are you interested? You say did everybody have a chance to review? We have 4 candidate statements and you're familiar with them?
And I assume all 4 meet the residency requirement that's been checked.
Yes.
Okay.
We have some of those candidates available. I see even Mr. Garner is available, who had eye surgery today, so we're grateful that you're here. Thank you very much. Does anybody would like to ask questions before we have discussion of the candidates? We could do that. Do you have questions? Does anybody have a nomination?
It's really difficult because they're 4 well-written statements. They all look like great candidates. They come to us with different attributes. All 4 are different. They all have something really good to offer this board and our community. And I'm really torn, just being honest. I'm not sure which way to go with this.
I'm gonna run where I live, worked. They would do this in executive session because with the candidates here, it's really uncomfortable for you guys, I would think, which it was for them. So they always did it in executive session.
I was gonna suggest an alternative. I can go take a walk. If that would.
Well, I appreciate that. That helps. I don't know if we're allowed to do that. Can we?
Cannot do an executive session.
Well, I don't need to be here.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And my offer stands if it's, would be less awkward if I, took a walk around the block.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I
Thank you
say,
for sharing.
no, I do agree with Roger. I mean, I think that literally you have 4 people that are very capable. The only one I personally had any experience with was Dave Garner. And I will tell you, I'm very comfortable with Dave just from past work. And so I guess if I was to lean somewhere, I would probably lean towards something that I know versus an unknown. Not that that makes, I guess anyone else a lesser candidate, but that is just part of my thinking, is that I've dealt with him in the past and I found he's worked very well with the board.
I agree.
I know quite a bit about Dave as well, but I am impressed with what Imera had to say about 1,209 voters being interested in Randy. That's compelling as well.
Mhm.
I agree. I mean, I don't think we're lacking in talent
Yeah,
that came to this table. Personally. So what do you think, Dave?
One of my first reactions is we were doing bios. And I was thinking to myself, we're not looking to hire an employee. And so therefore, they're the best lawyer, the best engineer, the best account. Those are all skill sets that'd be nice to bring to the board. But the bottom line is, we provide representation of the people. It's a political job. And so I was more interested in where people were at in the politics. So of course, I know Randy Little did a lot of that. And of course, I know Dave Garner from the work he was doing. The other folks, I wasn't really sure where they're coming from. Are they representing the interests of the people? And of course, as we know, there's a very strong interest in protecting the people's rights as opposed to developers and stuff like that. So I was kind of looking for more of that, but a lot of the guys weren't in the campaign, so therefore they weren't campaigning. I wish I could have seen them campaigning, but I'm at the point where, like I say, Little's got the strong case of he did campaign. And I think he represents the interest of most of the voters. And then, of course, Gardner's experience and been with us before, so I'm kind of torn between those two.
Yeah, I'd have to say that's where I'm at. Dave Garner has done so much for this board in the past, and in the present as well, that 1,200 people are interested in Randy as well. That's really compelling.
Well, and we could let Mr. Garner speak. He's got his hand, well.
Well, on the one hand, he didn't have a chance to talk.
Are there any objections to allowing further public comment? We did have interviews, yes, it's.
We had our rule that we were not going to do it other than public comment, but
But there were supposed to be.
Did we make that
interviews
rule?
too.
yes. Yes, that is one of our rules, Dave,
Well,
We did make an exception to it though once.
I'm thinking this is
which I
just,
think actually didn't turn out so good.
Yeah,
no, it
that's
did
true.
not.
I'm just saying,
But I was thinking we had people available for interviews as well. I did open that up to questions.
Is this something that could wait another month?
it can.
Yeah. Let me, are there any objections to hearing from our candidates for interview questions, comments?
No, no objection.
Mr. Garner, do you have something to say?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, great. I apologize for not being able to be there in person. I tried to reschedule my eye surgery and the doctor's office, the surgeon's office laughed and said, well, maybe 3 or 4 months. I couldn't wait that long. I would like to address the issue of running or not running for office. I asked those of you who were on the board at the time to recall that when I joined the board the last time to fill Adrian Hannigan's unexpired position, I stated at that time that I would not run. So that weighed heavily on my view this year not to file for office, but I had somewhat of a change of heart and actually downloaded the self-nomination packet. And then I discovered that the 2 other people who were running were Karen and Todd. And I immediately filed that paper in my little round waste paper basket because I was not going to compete against either of you. So while I respect the view that someone can run and gather votes, I wasn't going to run against 2 people that I think have done a marvelous job on the board and deserve to remain. And that's why I did not do so. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all might have on my position on any subject matter at all.
Thank you. And am I correct in thinking that Mr. Little is not online? There's a name I do not recognize, but if he is with us, welcome any comment from him too. Okay. Yeah.
Was he invited to come today? Was he invited?
I don't know if anybody was invited.
I emailed Dylan, I said, are the people running are required to show up? He said no, so is there.
It requires one thing. Were they invited?
No.
In my opinion, I have thought through a couple criteria for an ex-director. It would be The view, the extraterritorial service views has been the main campaign issue for the last four campaigns. So having somebody that we know their views on that is one of those.
By the way, let me second that. I read Randy's stuff, I thought he was pretty clear. And of course, I know Dave, I think he's pretty clear.
Mhm.
So those are, that concern has been addressed. The other two candidates, I don't know where they are on the
Well,
extraterritorial.
we can ask one of them.
Let's ask one of them. Mr. Yost?
Specifically, the question or just a general, the extraterritorial, and that general issue that's been, like you said, that's been going on since 2018.
Yeah, like we're in lawsuits right now.
Yeah,
And the question, you know, do we keep on fighting or do we roll over and go with the developers?
no, we don't roll over and go with the developers. Now, the development's gonna come. I mean, I remember when I first moved here 20 years ago, and there was a fraction of the traffic on Alameda and Union and so forth. So the last thing I am in favor of is, you know, more growth, more taxation on our infrastructure, heavier traffic, all these kinds of things. But it is gonna come. So for us to just roll over and hand it over to the developers, I think the growth is gonna come regardless. And so instead of us being passive, maybe that's not the right word, instead of us just rolling over, as you put, I think we need to be aggressive, only reach out if and when it makes sense for the district to do so. And then that way we have to say in the growth of the area. So I think, you know, it needs to be a case by case basis. When it is, what developers bring to the table, but I'm not a fan of us expanding the district. But at this point, knowing, you know, you guys are in and out of executive session, so I have a fraction of the knowledge you do about how these cases are coming, other than they keep coming up. That's not lost to me. So we need to figure out how to bring these across the finish line.
Well, I think my concern, as you know, I used to be in city council. And so it's like, if you have Adam Paul, anybody else, it's like, oh, we want development to pay its own way. I want it to be smart and say all the right things. But then when push comes to shove, there's never been a development that they don't encourage and do everything they can to make it happen. And so I've kind of learned the hard way that everybody might kind of agree, but when push comes to shove, are you gonna stand up? Or, you know, I've seen too many people roll over and then go back to that. You know, like say that they say the right things, but when they get in office, they don't deliver.
Well, you know,
And I'll tell you my concern, by the way, my daughter's also graduated from mine. And it's the sort of thing, I'm kind of like, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And
it's an old Mark Twain.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so my first instinct is like, engineers want to build stuff. I was like, I'm not sure if we were hiring an engineer, then we'd probably be first on my, but on the other hand, the people are saying, we kind of like our district, we're not looking for a whole lot more building. And I'm wondering, as an engineer, do you feel like you have to build something?
No, absolutely not. To do nothing alternative is always on the table. So when you say roll over or cave in, well, what do you mean on a case by case basis? I mean, why would I roll over? I'm 65 years old. I'm retired, financially independent. I don't need to roll over for anybody. I can look at things on a case by case basis.
Well, like, for instance, we get the argument that if you don't go along with the developer, he's gonna sue you and it costs money. Well, that's like pressure. Like, can you stand that sort of pressure?
You know, yeah, it's a great question, David, and being a long-term, 40 years as a consultant civil engineer, I've been on both sides of the table. I can see these. I know how to read the stitches on a fastball, right? And so when a developer brings forth their plans, their recommendations, what they want to do, I can see this stuff a mile away. And same thing, as a district, you have the district engineers working for you, whether it's Merrick or now HDR is involved at some level there. It's the same thing. I can see what they're gonna come back with, and I can call balls and strikes, because I'm an engineer. I know how big a pipe should be. I know how many pumps are required, should be, in series and parallel, how much is it gonna cost, how long is it gonna take, what are the steps? And so, I can be extremely valuable asset to negotiating with developers, because they are gonna come and not definitively say, oh, I'm just gonna find a tooth and nail every step of the way, just because that's what I'm gonna be, or I can't use your phrase, just roll over. And I would like to add another question. I did start in 2018 as same time Jeff. And, obviously, that with this here now, I don't know how many votes I got, but I ran for election in 2018. And I got asked to, and I didn't run again in 2021, right? When the recall thing came. And again, I made a calculated decision that Todd and Karen, you guys are gonna roll over to the next, take advantage of the fact that you guys have served a term, and now we can take advantage of your experience. And I knew that Jeff was going to be term limited out at 2025. And so that's why I didn't throw my name in the hat, not because I'm not interested, or how many votes I would or would not have gotten if I had. So I would like to clarify that I've been hanging around here for a while.
Anything else? Mr. Garner, your hand is still up. Do you have something else? Maybe not. Yes.
I'll go ahead and I'd make a motion that we put Dave Garner in. Again, I just like, I guess the accountant in me, I like consistency. I like known things. And so I would like to nominate him for the vacant position.
I will second that. Any discussion?
Can somebody give me an idea how far back Dave's involvement goes? I know he was appointed in the past. Was he involved prior to that?
Do not believe so. He's been involved in city. Oh,
You have to make an exception. I can answer that for you.
no, not make an exception for him.
But you are excited.
You're a board member emeritus, like he's gonna be.
There you go.
Dave was involved going back almost at the time when I was first elected. And he's been in tune with this since about 20 years. Sorry.
No, we appreciate that. Certainly a known entity. He's been a very valuable resource for the board for the short time I've been on the board. Not really else to add. I'm kind of torn, I'll be honest, I'm torn at this point between him and Randy Little. Mostly because, as Imera said, Randy had the backing of 1,200 voters.
All right, well, any other discussion? We have a motion on the table. All in favor, say aye.
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 Unanimous, motion passes.
I'll work with Garner to get his oath, and
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I told my wife, that I was going on a course, so there's a 75% chance I'd be right back. So. For hearing me out.
You're welcome.
Oh, great, okay.
Okay. Moving into item 6, this was something I forgot to do in the beginning, election of officers. We need to elect officers, but we had advice to do that
I
the next
recommend,
meeting.
I recommend that you do it when you have a full constituted board.
So we will
Okay.
move that to the June meeting. Okay. And we are on to number 7, district manager report.
Yes, I sent out the district manager report. It had quite a bit of recognitions in there. Some of them are pretty cool because our like Director Hooks likes our savings are getting a lot of interest. So we're going from 20 million to 23 million in savings, and it won't get into projects, but the projects are moving a lot quicker now. So we could talk about that. And still asset care is going really well. The leading a lot of tasks, a lot of good jobs. And the customer service is working, handling all the calls, talking to customers all the time. So that's working really well. Any other questions that I get an answer on district manager report? Before we go into projects?
I'm good.
Maybe, okay. Moving into item 8, projects.
Okay, so the projects, the Bear Creek sewer lining project is scheduled to be done by the end of this month, and it's moving quick now.
Good.
You know, the red tape was a lot of the permitting, so it's moving very quick, it should be done. And then the Kipling Alameda sewer line is also moving very quick. If you drive over there, you'll see it's been dug up and manholes put in. It's crossing Kipling, and that was a hard thing to do because of the CDOT permits. So that is in full force and being done. The Tamara's lift station,
What street was that again?
Kipling CDOT, yeah, the Kipling sewer line. And, you know, that's a good project because that's a big win for us because, you know, we're getting a developer to pitch in for that, a lot of money to pitch in for that. And so.
Didn't that in effect shorten the line as well, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, it was quicker to, you know, abandon 700 feet of line and go straight to the east and cost less.
It
So,
was a wise decision.
And we don't have any responsibility for the abandoned line?
no,
Okay.
no, we're allowed
So when
to.
do we anticipate it to be done?
I'll get you the exact date, but it could be done within the next couple of weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's moving fast.
That's pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of good work being done, and we have to recognize JVA. They're doing incredible work to push that project through. JVA is an incredible engineering organization, so they get right on top of it. Well, it's moving well. They're redoing barricades. We talked to Mike, the fabricator, and he says they've been fabbing other barricades for other districts. So I guess barricades are a thing, so it's still tied up.
Let me take the opportunity on that subject matter. At city council last night, her husband was there. And of course, he speaks up, but he spent all this time basically getting the city. He was not going after us last night.
Good.
Yeah. City's responsibility at this point.
Yeah, that's basically what he said. Get off your ball and do it.
And then the Tamara's lift station, new design for redundant capacity, we're adding to the capacity for that with existing storage in the sumps, the pumping sumps, so we'll send a memo of that. So, you know, the budgeted for capital was $700,000, so to increase the diameter of the pipe size is gonna cost a lot less than $700,000, and we'll still have redundancy. And then the pink pump station generator, we're ordering through Cummings, it's on order. Generators are back ordered still due to supply chain issues from COVID, but it's on order. HER Engineering is reviewing loan forgiveness qualifications, and we could expand that to anything you guys vote on.
Right.
And then there's the RFIs. So I sent all the RFIs out, and then, you know, they're right in front of you if you guys want to review them. And my personal suggestion by far for the design review and project management of Atlantic is JVA, because they know all our rules and regs, and plus they got a reasonable price. Even though some of the like DJ&A is lower, there was a lot of, you know, hidden fees in there that they would charge us for. As JVAs are straightforward, plus they prove that you get the work done quickly, easily, and they have they already have all of our master plans, all our modeling and everything. So you can vote on that, and then RFI for the design of the structure Both were pretty good, but Respect Engineering gave us, even though they're a little bit more, they gave us actual references of pipe hangers instead of bridges where, you know, it says right in the design for the bid, this is not a bridge. So I don't know why DJ&A gave us a submittal showing bridges. So that's why Respect actually gave us pictures of pipe hangers that are not bridges. So you can do what you want, vote on those and decide, and I'll let them know, or wait, it's up to you.
Are you gonna make a recommendation?
JVA was JVA for the first one, Respect for the second one.
I motion that we go with both. With his recommendations.
Is that out of order? Is that, or is it later in the agenda?
No, it's now.
No, okay.
I will second his motion.
Okay. I will, that's not my preference. I would recommend looking at the RG engineering bid. All respect to a JVA, they do a lot of work for us, and one of our goals was to get a couple of engineers, so we didn't fall back into the habit of having a single
Merrick,
source.
Correct.
I don't want a JVA to replace Merrick, and we don't have other people. RG had, not only does the bid on this project look good, but their other services look good. So that is my reason for.
No, that makes perfect sense, but could I ask, if we went with your recommendation now, would there be an opportunity to change and use a different contractor in the near future? To do what Director Morgan is suggesting?
Well,
You mean on a
Oh,
different project?
yeah,
Different projects, yeah.
well, RNG is great. You know, if you really, all of our neighboring districts use them. So they're great too. I would, they're second, you know, I would vote for second. It's just, you know, JVA, since we're already working with them, but you're right, if we want to diversify, RNG would be the next one to do.
I do like Respect for the not bridge bid.
Yeah, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. We've done that before, so. Oh, I agree with you. That makes sense.
Okay.
Trust me, RNG is great, and JVA is gonna do a ton of work for us since they're already on board, so no problem.
So we need to vote on his,
We need to vote, we have a motion on floor. Any other discussion? All right, call the
Oh,
vote.
wait. I thought your motion was different than what you suggested.
I'm
well,
saying I'm
he
not
made a
voting for it.
motion. She gave what her thoughts were
So
during discussion.
in order to go that way, we'd have to vote against your motion, then have a next motion.
Correct.
Need to know who's on first, okay? Got it.
So all those in favor of hiring JVA in Respect for the two bids, say aye.
I,
Okay,
Yeah,
All right.
maybe disambiguate the next one.
All right,
It doesn't sound like there's much dispute about respect.
okay.
what happens when a tie vote like this?
it doesn't pass.
Okay.
Tie, no go.
Just vote on one at a time.
All right, so we can, their motion for hiring Just Respect for the Ravine Knot Bridge.
Is there a motion for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I move that we take Respect, sure.
And that's the one you just recommended.
No, she respected RNG as far as who she suggested.
Two projects, we're doing just the latter.
I will agree. Is there a second for Respect? I will second that.
Okay.
Any discussion about that?
And just for clarity, this was manager Tyus's recommendation.
Yes.
Okay.
Where's your recommendation at this point?
Another for the next.
Oh, later down?
Separate.
Okay.
We'll just do it in two.
Yeah, I need quick notes. Okay.
I know.
All right.
So, okay, all in favor of Respect for the Ravine Bridge? Aye, motion passes. All right. Then we're gonna have to have a little bit more discussion. I'll make a motion for the RG Engineering to take over the be awarded the bid for Atlantic. Second,
I'll second it.
okay, any discussion?
Yes, if we would happen to vote for JVA, would there be another opportunity for the other organization in the very near future? We have that many projects that where we could stick with JVA, but then diversify in the next month or two.
No, because right now the projects are moving to construction. So this is all designed. The next step is construction. So it'll be different. You'll have different bidders, construction companies like Brandon bidding on it. So
What would this do to our relationship with JVA?
nothing.
Nothing, okay.
No worries.
I think this is the end of this is the last project for this year's capital
Okay.
projects, is Atlantic, and that was because it was a last minute switch out.
Yeah, right now JVA is working on Tamarisk. And we're starting to receive email for the Fed Center development. So they're gonna be super tied up on that.
Okay.
We'll talk about that more, but anyway.
We need to stay on this
I
motion.
know. But anyway, to Roger's point, if we're already doing with stuff with JVA, so it's like, we got one egg in the basket. Now, if we go ahead and put this other egg in the basket, we've got 2 eggs in the basket. That's a good thing. Okay, go.
We're gonna have 3, actually 4, we'll have, so. Sorry to interrupt, but you know, if you look at the history, it's always been Merrick, 100% Merrick. So now moving forward, we have HDR, you just approved respect, so now we have HDR, respect, JBA, now if you approve RNG, you have 4, so you have 4 different organizations.
Are you comfortable with working with so many different engineering firms?
Oh, yeah, what we do is, you know, JVA still will oversee the rules and regs, so, you know, RNG is super smart. I mean, they already know the rules and regs because they deal with all the surrounding districts. So, but it's easy to work with them. We just set up a project meeting, construction kickoff meetings, go through it all and get the right of ways, and then if there's any tie-ups that we need, we refer them to JVA. So,
Yeah, but this doesn't spread you and your staff too thin by working with 4 different firms.
no, really, they do all the work.
Okay.
Yeah, we just communicate with them. And keep in mind, JVA is doing the modeling and doing studies on, you know, outside like Solterra and Big Sky, what's that gonna do to it, you know, also, so they're doing a lot of work. I mean, they'd be happy to get this, but we want to diversify RNG.
Yeah, we're spreading it out. That sounds like a good idea.
So we ready to
All
vote?
right, call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
I'll let them know. Thank you.
Thank you for all your work reviewing those and making recommendations. I had can I get clarification on these the other projects? You have notes that Merrick is no longer working on the project.
Yeah, yes, Merrick pulled out of all the projects. What they did is they listened to our last board meeting and they were real nice about it. They said, hey, you know, there's a lot of contention, you know, between Green Mountain and Merrick. So we'd like to politely pull out of all the projects and shift everything to JBA. So we pulled all of our documents, everything they've ever worked on into our system. So we have everything Merrick's ever done into our system. And then we passed it all on to JBA. And they, you know, they're real nice. But they're completely gone.
Well, that's good, but in that passing process, do we keep a copy for ourselves?
Everything's in our system.
Okay.
We own everything because we paid for it. So it was a great thing, you know, Merrick did, you know, great work in the past, but you know, it was McLaughlin Engineering that was around forever since the 1950s, and then Merrick purchased it, and then. But we have all the documentation. It took us a while to get everything downloaded. It's all in terabits. So we have everything we need. JBA has everything they need. They have modeling and everything, and we'll keep working with them to get more information. So Merrick's Merrick's completely out of the picture.
I just want to clarify, it sounds like they initiated the action. Did you confirm with them because the board voted 2 months ago to stop working with them? So
yeah, so they were in the middle of like, you know, the Bear Creek CIPP project started over a year ago. So they were in the middle of that project, you know, that was a big one. And then they were the design engineering firm that designed the Kipling and Alameda project. So So they're basically, we were just waiting for those projects to be 100% complete, but they said, now we'll pull out now. So they just, so JVA took over the Kipling and Alameda line, and then the CIPP at Bear Creek's almost done, so there's not much to do there.
Well, that does conform with the board vote of 2 months ago. So if you have any emails to show that you took action on the board vote of 2 months ago to stop working with them, I'd appreciate that after the meeting. Be great.
Yes, I was directed by Dylan to finish those projects. So that was, so we would stop using them, but since they were in the middle of those projects for over a year, it was like they were in the middle of them, so we weren't going to direct them off the project.
Okay. On to
Financial matters.
no. On Atlantic,
That's what we just voted on.
yes. Does anybody remember we talked about other city projects going on? Are you gonna, would you, Mr. Tyus, look at? You always do follow up with the city, but I don't want that to be another big project where we find out that they're doing repavement before or around what we are doing. So that would be a good time to make sure that they're not, don't need to coordinate any stormwater runoff or anything.
Okay.
You are aware that they're messing around with the intersection of Union and Mississippi. They're putting in new traffic stuff.
Yes.
You're aware of that?
Yeah, our field staff is track, they get a lot of locates out there, so they track it.
Okay.
Can we go over just a little bit on the project list? Now, Bear Creek, you said that should be done this month. And Kipling as well, I'm sorry, can you,
This month,
this month?
yes.
Kentucky on hold.
Not even on here.
The bottom of the first page. Oh, it's on the.
It's on the spreadsheet,
Oh,
but it was put on hold because we switched to Atlantic.
Yeah. Okay, and we are in the middle of designing, and I'm sorry, I didn't write it all down. Can I write it down? What was the next deadline for the generator?
The generator's on order. It might take between 6 months to 10 months to get.
Okay,
It's already, the Browns Hill Engineering, that's another egg in a basket. Browns Hill Engineering did the design work to hook up the generator to the ping pump station.
and what would be the next deadline for cameras?
Tamarisk will ship it, it's still into the calculating stages, so it hasn't hit the design stages, it's just calculating the capacity. So we'll have a memo from JVA in the next couple of weeks, then they can move to the design stages,
Okay, so,
or we could bid it. If you guys want to bid the design. Or have JVA design, it's up to you.
okay. They are looking, I guess I was assuming that JVA was going to be designing that. Is that a two-step process that they are looking at, or they're writing a memo and then designing?
Yeah, so the original plan went like this, so Merrick had a plan, a $700,000 plan to put two dual discharge lines coming out of Tamarisk. And we thought it cost too much, so we went to JVA and said, can we do something else? So it was all based on redundancy of the lift station if the lift station failed. So JVA looked at that design and said it'd be a lot cheaper just to increase the diameter of the pipe going in. And so now they're looking at, so they calculated the diameter, what diameter pipe going in. Now they have to calculate the storage of the actual pumping sumps. So they're in process. So we should have a memo from them to say, okay, if we go with this design, it'll give us this amount of time for redundancy if the lift station fails. Then if we decide to go that way, then we could either have them design it or bid it out.
Okay. I heard that they are designing something so that they can write a memo to us, but then we'll bid it out a design.
Well, they're doing the so they're going away from the design of Merrick, which was 2 discharge pipes,
Yes,
creating a calculation. So picture this, if we had 2 discharge pipes, we would have a lot of redundancy because it'd be almost unlimited amount of redundancy, but it'd cost $700,000. Because if one pipe broke or something, you'd pump through the other pipe and you could continue pumping through the other pipe. But this design is cheaper, but they have to calculate the amount of time we have. So you might not want to, it's up to you if you want to spend the 700,000 to have a lot of redundancy or the 700,000 to have like 6 hours of redundancy. So that's what the memo would explain. Then you could go with that design.
okay. So by the next meeting, we'll have a memo.
Yeah, I talked to JVA today, so hopefully we'll have it next
No,
meeting.
no, what was the choice for redundancy? I heard 6 hours. What was the other side?
6 hours are opposed to kind of a lot of redundancy because you have a whole separate line
But
going
you
out.
gave the same cost for both, right? Is it the same cost for both?
No, it costs a lot less to increase one line and run a whole nother line.
Just
That'd
making-
be part of the memo. It's, you know,
Sounds good.
No, I'm confused. 6 hours on one side. The other side is 7 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 20 months, 30 years. What's the opposite of?
yeah, so if you have 2 lines leaving the pump station, if one line breaks, you could pump up to 24 hours through that line. So
6 hours versus 24 hours.
well, we don't know the 6 hours yet. That's what they're calculating. But they'll be in the memo.
Okay. We'll wait for a memo, hopefully next month, and it would be good because I guess this is an estimated design versus a design, because they have to design something to tell us what they're doing to put it in a memo. So an estimated cost to do another design, I guess, versus whether or not we want to bid it out and how much time that would save. It seems like if they're writing this memo, constructing a design, that would be the end of it
Right.
for me. All right, and then the barricades on the bridge that I have been expecting that, I think was the end of March that we were going to have those done, so
I know
just,
it's terrible. It's still far behind schedule.
okay.
Just a little update on my side of that. I'll do it now, so during legal, but, I had a follow-up conversation with, Lakewood City Attorney. Lakewood participated and listened to the last board meeting, and he has provided me some revised language associated with their last proposal and asked me to review it and provide him comments so that they can provide another proposal. I have not gotten him my comments, so he and I are still in a conversation about that proposal to see whether Lakewood will be making a counter.
Will this actually include a monetary adjustment, or is it just still liability?
It doesn't provide for present money exchange or contribution by Lakewood, but it is. I believe that we're working to clarify that any future expense will be split. Pro rata to the desired function of each contributing entity, right? So like
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Lakewood will contribute the amount attributable to a pedestrian structure if they desire a pedestrian structure in the future, and Green Mountain will contribute pipe hanging structure quantity.
Right.
Well, that makes sense.
But, consider that preliminary, because we're still working on the language, and I could be misinterpreting him.
Well, I hope that, it gives me hope that we're at least trying to come to a middle ground, so that makes me feel good.
We're always gonna have them with the liability.
Yes. Well,
Well, for their portion,
right, yeah, you will always have liability for the actual sewer line. So they won't be taking,
Well, the question's always been to me is if the sewer line broke, some of us, force majeure or whatever, it's ours. But if the park users are busy playing on the bridge and they break it, I think it's their fault. And we shouldn't have liability.
That's a little more complicated. Because.
Hey, we could cross that bridge when we come to it.
Cross that pipe angle. Yeah.
But it also depends on the design. You know, if the
I was
pipe's
dying to
immedi-
say that.
if the pipe's immediately under the pedestrian bridge or it's adjacent to it.
I have dad jokes
There'd
too,
be
you
some
know.
big differences.
Yeah, there are, every situation is gonna have different circumstances and a different outcome there. Our primary concern is for liability attributable to pedestrian use, to pedestrians, really, like physical harm to your infrastructure, that's a risk that you bear generally. Somebody falling off one of your structures, that is not a risk that you should bear
Right.
generally.
Okay.
That's something that like which.
And theoretically, fixing a pipe would be within our realm of something we could handle.
Right, that is more or less your wheelhouse.
But if somebody gets killed, we can't afford that.
Right.
Keep in mind, this design bid takes the pipe from under the bridge and has its own support, so it won't even be under that center bridge.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
Okay.
So I'll continue working with Alex on that, and if and when they have something,
Bring it to us.
I'll bring it to you, or I'll send it to you, whatever happens on their side of things.
Excellent. Well, potentially good news. However, that's not enough to make us stop working on
No,
anything in process.
not at this point.
I would like to, in case we do get the barricades ready and we do have to put them up, I'd like to get a sign that explains something a little bit more thoroughly. Of what's going on there. We have some language up right now, maybe better to modify that though. So I'd like to look at doing that, which I did not bring any examples, but that's in my mind. Does anybody have any problems if I work on that and submit to Dylan and get that passed for legal inspection, just to update the language,
Fine
see
with
where
me,
we're at?
yeah.
Something along the lines of, these are our statutes, same as what's up there now, to assumed ownership, and we have to close it, and we tried to work it out. We could.
Well, I don't know. To me, I don't know that I'd want to say something like that. I mean, I understand the statute part, that makes perfect sense to me. The saying we tried to work, I mean, I don't think I think it should just be very factual, and it should not probably have something that implies whatever, like we're opposed or providing opposition to the city of Lakewood. I mean, we may in here, you know what I'm saying, but I think on a sign, I would personally not put that. I wouldn't. I mean, I would just say what statutes we're following, and, and if we're saying it's due to liability, whatever purpose. I mean, I guess, if Dylan would deem something, I don't know, it's like if you put up whatever guard dog or whatever, does that create more liability for your dangerous dog? Because now you're notifying someone that your dog is dangerous. I don't know that technical part. So that's to me where he might come in. I like just facts, not anything other than that. That's my opinion.
I don't know how to respond to that, but for what it's worth, the other day, my daughter was up there with her dog and ran into that for the first time. I was like, what the hell are you doing down there with that water boy? And of course, I tried to explain it. She didn't buy it. She thought we weren't wrong. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's how it's coming across to people.
Well, that's what I mean.
Well, but our fiduciary duty is to protect the district, the assets, the people. It's not to please everyone.
I'd like to say, talking to the choir
I
here.
understand.
I'm convinced, but like I said, there was no convincing her. Of course, everything I do is wrong, but
Well, you're her father.
yes.
All right, well, I'll keep thinking about it then, maybe do something for.
Well, that's just my
MFI.
thought. That's just my thought. I just,
Yeah.
like adding anything additional to me, I just don't want to muddy the water. It's already muddied.
It seems likely that, given the current schedule, you're not gonna have barricades by the next meeting anyway.
So, anyway,
It may be moved. If you wanted the signage to accompany the barricades.
Yeah,
So,
well, it'll take a while just to get the signs, I'm sure, too. So that'd be wonderful. All right. That's, anything else on projects?
Yeah, before we go to financial, let me ask the question I was gonna ask earlier. What are we hearing about the Fed Center? What's going on?
Oh, yeah, the Fed Center. So just got an email today from an engineering company that wants to look at designing the water and wastewater systems going in there. So I just forwarded them our procedures, our rules and regs, our standards, and our new and improved water and sewer certificates. So I said, we gotta follow all these.
what firm was it?
I'll forward you the names. I've never heard of them. They're out of Greenwood Village. I never heard of them.
Well, let me understand. They're talking about, they like to do the project. We haven't put anything out for a project. Are they cold calling? It's like, I'm
Oh,
gonna.
no, the developer hired them. The people who bought the land hired them.
Oh, so they're.
but they can do whatever they want. I mean, they can put as much at risk as they want. It's not until they come to us and meet our criteria that we.
So evidently they put out bids.
I don't know what the developer did, but this is the firm that wants to know how they go about getting water and sewer. And the hard part, I brought this up before, is it's it's like you guys said, the path board put that in our boundaries, so it's in our boundaries. That's the first thing they sent me. Is this in your boundaries? I had to say yes, because it's on the DOLA website that I update every year. Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't go to jail. So yes, it's in our boundaries.
Is included.
Yeah,
So if it's in our boundaries, I just have to stick to what's legal, and that's all the documentation I sent.
Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with it, but anyway, the other one, what about, I'm hearing some things about Alkire.
They just did a court request. That's all I know. I haven't heard anything else.
I think that went out into last week.
Yeah, just.
The court request.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on? I mean, my understanding is we haven't given them squat in the way of any sort of approvals. So therefore, they shouldn't be doing anything.
Well, they're also entitled, it's their land. They can do whatever they want. Now, hooking into our sewer and water system is a whole other issue. But I mean, he could build an entire thing. He just won't have water and sewer unless he complies.
Well, let me ask about that, because I thought his most recent problem was he couldn't do any construction without having a fire hydrant. And so he couldn't build anything without a fire hydrant. He can't.
Well, if that's the case and he's violating, then that's,
He was not there yet.
oh,
He was
well,
notified. Is my recollection.
Yeah, I think that was December.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking that's months ago. And did he get his fire hydrant?
No, there's no water and sewer.
So
Zero.
is he
Nothing.
doing anything without a fire hydrant?
We don't know. We don't track it.
well, they made an offer to us of some sort, which we rejected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And because we were just saying that they have to pay for the upgrade of the pipe down to Miss, or whatever,
Kentucky.
Ohio, whatever it is, Kentucky.
Yeah, one of those states.
Yeah.
The way I remember it, it stopped. But is it stopped or are they somehow
Well,
getting around this?
He, like I said, if it's his property, he can probably do most whatever he wants, even if he's in violation of code, if he needs to have a fire hydrant, but until the point where he complies with what we're asking, he's not gonna have water or sewer. And to me, like, I think in the past, our stance has just been, we have to be consistent. We cannot make exceptions, because if we make one exception, we're gonna make everyone an exception. And so we just have to have our standards and stand by them.
Okay. Well, the other thing that came up when we had that conversation was it's like, how many parking spots do they have? The question was asked to me, is like, what is the zoning for parking? I'm going, well, back in the day when I was doing it, you had to have so many parking spots or whatever. And that property's got parking for one spot. And so how could he possibly be satisfying? the city's-
Well, in Lakewood right now, it's 0.75 parking spaces per unit. It's not even one. So if he has 4 units there, he would only need 0.7. So just to make the math easy, 8 times 4 is 30. So he would only need 3 parking spaces.
Yeah, there's only room for one.
Well, that's another issue he has. That's not our issue.
Well, I know.
That's his issue.
I know.
How many units was he asking for?
I don't remember.
15.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he would in theory again, you know, there's 7 and he'd have to have 11 parking spaces.
Yeah, there is no 11 space for 11 parking
I
spaces.
do not believe there's any action necessary from this board.
Well, no.
No. I do think that there is probably action necessary in the Fed Center then, if they are initiating contact, then the first step for the district would be to let them know that we need to have a study to update what is going on out there. For our rules and regs,
Close study.
Oh,
yes.
well, before we're leaving, Alkire, last I heard they had people that were gonna sue us and stuff like that. Did anything ever come of that?
Well,
Not that I've seen.
their firm, the law firm that they're working
Right.
on submitted a court request.
Court, that's,
So that's what is happening with that.
yeah.
Presumably, they're gonna review the documents and correspondence that they've received and make a decision on how to proceed. So maybe. Probably I will hear from them next. They might.
Do you have any sense of why they keep changing their law firms?
If I had to guess, I would say it's because they're paying retainers and then using them up and then finding a new firm to pay a retainer to. Or, more generously, it does seem to me that they are finding more and more experienced attorneys. Each attorney that I've dealt with has had more experience in this particular subject matter than the previous.
That's what I was wondering. We keep running into him. He concedes that he's lost. Like, all right, I'll see if I can get a second opinion, see if somebody else can take it on. And if they say they're lost, he's going to a third one. And so if he's shopping around. trying
As,
to
you
find-
know, as an accountant, I'd probably spend more money fixing the sewer and less money on attorneys. Then my project would move forward.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all.
Developers are not economists.
So when I'm reading into it, it sounds like every time he goes to a new attorney, it's like the previous attorney told him it's like pointless.
I don't have any insight into that.
Yeah, that's
I do
again,
not
their
either.
issue.
I can't even call the question, there's no motion here on the
No.
table, because.
Sure.
Yeah, can be
Done.
done.
Discussion
Sorry.
finished.
But can I ask about the study for the Fed Center? I did not realize that was going on, so I did not check. Do we need to initiate that with engineer of our choosing, or do we ask them to do that?
I thought we asked
I think
them,
we
it's
asked
them
them
at
to-
their cost.
They are paying for it, but do we need to ask them to pay, do we need to direct?
Well, we picked the engineer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So is that like, would that go through JVA then?
Yeah, oh yeah, JVA. We already told JVA it's coming their way.
Okay,
Okay, so that's a decision we did not make, but we could say JVA, go do that. So there you go,
well,
Director Wendell, we can have JVA do something right away. Who knew?
well, do we have to make a motion on that or are they automatically involved?
They're automatic.
They are not automatic because we do not have a district engineer.
Well,
That was the,
they're approved for the, you know, the flow modeling, you know, they're doing that flow modeling this year, so.
Okay, then I would like to make a motion that we use JVA engineering for the flow study and for the work that is being undertaken at the federal center.
I'd second that.
good. All in favor? Aye. Great. So we'll let the developer at the Fed Center know that who to get in contact and to initiate that.
Yes.
Anything else we need to do there?
That probably won't arise until they request certificates of availability,
Okay,
but I don't know what stage they're at. Probably pretty preliminary.
Yes, this is the first time I heard from them, just the first email, and I can send them all the documentation with those certificates. So as soon as they start filling out the certificates, we'll say, hey, you're required to do a flow study through JVA engineering.
Okay.
Both water and wastewater
Yeah.
that you have to pay for.
okay, excellent. All right, we're done with projects then. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to item 9, financial matters.
Well, as always, I reviewed the operating expenses, capital expenditures. And then the unaudited financial statements and investment reports. And I would make a motion that we accept those for the April 2023 month.
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Oh, you had
Aye.
discussion? I'm sorry.
No, just one comment. I've won them attorneys for the Big Sky litigation. Their fee agreement requires a $10,000 retainer. I signed that in April, but I confirmed with them that they would fine receiving that in May disbursements. So it's just a comment.
Yeah, you'll see that check there next month.
All right, Paul, say again, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass unanimously. Thank you very much. On to item 10, directors matters. As I talked about last month, I wanted to propose getting our financial a study done to figure out how we're going to pay for all of that infrastructure that is coming up. I sent around a proposal. This would be my, which I didn't print out for myself, of course. The point is that we had discussion previously, and that was at the last budget approval. For capital projects, do we increase our service fee? Do we call out a separate capital fee? Do we look at bonds? Do we have options? But the point is, we know we're going to have a bunch of costs coming up and we need to figure out how to pay for them in the best way. So I'd like to suggest hire somebody to do that. I'm going to recommend hiring Raftellus because they did the fee study from before. However, we had some problems with that because all of your fees are structured around how you call your projects. Are they capacity? That would be a developer project. Are they a replacement infrastructure? Because that's aging out. That's residents paid. So the first thing we'd need to do is call and make sure we have all of the documents and we are set with what we need. So what I would like is permission from the board, I guess, unless anybody else would like to call and dig into this. I dealt with the Raftellus before, and then we handed
Could
it
you
off.
say their name?
Raftellus,
RAF,
yes, RAFTELIS.
okay.
And they have of our engineering information, but we did have some because of turnover of what we were doing in responsibilities. This was before Mr. Caius, but we were still turning things over. And so we got some of those documents lost in translation. So I'd kind of like to call and see what we need to proceed. So I'd like permission from the board to call and see if we've got everything and can go. If we could go with them, I think that would be easiest just because they have all of our information from before engineering wise.
Do you think it would be fair to say that these future expenses are a combination of both capacity and aging infrastructure? Is it kind of
Absolutely.
equal? Yeah.
I think
Okay.
absolutely, especially since we updated our capacity things, and if so, then all of their calculations, they did our system development fees study. So if we have anything to change there, any new capacity projects, which we do, then those development fees will go up and they would be able to plug those in easily.
Would Raftellus make a recommendation as to how we acquire these funds? But I don't even want to say the word bonds. Increases, but they would make the recommendation.
They could, yes, I believe they could. I would not, and I would like to look at asked them how to delineate them. HDR has already done a lot of work. I don't want to paper repetition on that. So that would be.
So the group that did the presentation to us was HDR. And
um,
I thought that we had at our last meeting asked that they spearhead this,
finding funds.
not getting them for us then.
Two different things. So they were supposed to be finding funds for whatever's, and the project was. Mr. Tice, why don't you wrap up? You were working with them.
Yes, exactly. So the last board meeting, the board voted to have HDR to see if we could get loan forgiveness funding through what on the state. So there's three, DOLA, CPH, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, and COES, Colorado Environmental. So there's three different departments through the state. They'll say, hey, does Green Mountain qualify for $2 million worth of loan forgiveness? Because that's our application. So that's what they're just looking at. This 10-year plan is in the works on a lot of spreadsheets. There's all these spreadsheets out. One of them is what Director Baker called the FICA spreadsheet. That we've been working super hard on, trust me. I sent you guys up there. So what Ractills can do is they could take all the past, like Director Morgan said, they could take all the past information we gave them to do the TAP study. And then they even take this information off the FICA spreadsheet and then put together more, and we give them more information on what we see going out, just like what Director Roger Wendell said. Roger said is, hey, we're seeing some cast iron aging lines. So they take all that information and along with all the spreadsheets and the master plans and all that, and they put together a 10-year plan. Okay. So it's kind of two different things.
No, that's fine.
Including making recommendations on, for example, what user fees should be to accommodate the expected maintenance costs versus what the SDF fees should be to accommodate the expected future development.
Gotcha.
And one very important point too is we actually asked JVA today if, JVA says, yes, we work with Ractills all the time. So it's up to you. If you wanted to, you could work through JVA to get this done with Ractills, or you could hire Ractills directly. It's up to you. But it's already, it's already in the planning stages because, JVA is working on a lot of these things. They're working with us on the FICA spreadsheet to prioritize all this stuff, looking at the past master plan for water, the master plan for wastewater, and the modeling.
Well, one way more cost effective than the other. Like, is the engineering firm more expensive than Ractills, or Ractills more economical than the engineering?
Well, you'll still hire both. I mean, Ractills will just be working for JVA, getting all the information. There's a lot of information out there they would have to use for a 10-year plan. Tons of them. It goes back to what I said earlier about those terabits of information we got from Merrick. So I don't know how much information Ractills had during the study for tap fees, to increase tap fees. So, but no matter, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can hire Ractills directly and they'll still work with getting a lot of that past Merrick information from us and JVA, or you can tell JVA to work with Ractills. So either way, it's going to cost us the same.
Probably gonna get finer tuning of the scope of work if you hire them directly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let me clarify, at this point, are we asking them to submit a proposal, a bid or something? Or are we saying, go off and run, in which case have we figured out what it's gonna cost us?
Well, they're experts in this. This is what Ractills is world famous for doing that work right there. So that's why we hired it. That's why you guys hired him in the past. So it'd be Director Morgan, just what Director Morgan said, is she'll contact him, get the ball rolling, and then we'll feed them the information.
And ask.
So do we need to make a motion to do that?
bid.
Well, yeah, well, again, there's a motion is,
Not a bid, but estimate. Thank you.
okay, I think
With
you're
the
saying,
scope and yes.
okay, I think you answered my
And
question.
then we will motion to approve the project.
So we're not authorizing the actual money right now.
So do we need to make a bid to give you authority to do that, or do we just say, go ahead and do that?
I think you don't have to move
Okay.
to
So just go ahead and do that.
pursue that.
I will do that and bring something back as soon as I can. Excellent.
So Todd Cristiano is the contact. You guys find that.
Yeah.
He's pretty famous.
But by the way, since we're on the subject, what about our next, that fee study? I think we were talking about doing it more often. Monthly was out of question, but quarterly or biannually, or at the quarter point, we want to do it quarterly, or we're gonna do it, every 6 months. Time to start thinking about it pretty soon.
I think it would be good to roll it in here. Like I said, I think things will change when they could not do an adequate job based on the assumptions that we gave them from Merrick. Merrick assumed that we had extra capacity. So nobody had to pay extra for more capacity on development, and I think that affected things. So if we give them a 10-year plan that shows all of our capacity projects, and that will.
So we're looking at potentially some serious changes as opposed to just inflation sort of adjustment.
Potentially.
But are we gonna plan on doing it here in the next few months?
Well, did we do the other one at year end? When did we do the other one?
Yeah, you rolled that into the budget process, so
Right.
you did it in November.
Like I say, we're a quarter.
Yeah, it was based on engineering.
Well,
news and-
quarterly is probably hard to do it. Even, I don't even know, is 6 months too often to do it?
I think so. I like doing it every year.
Yeah.
So I don't have any need to do that
You want to hold off until the end of the year?
until, yes, I would, if you would like to. So I would just recommend rolling it in if there's something new, if you would like to do something.
Well, if it's an inflation adjustment, well, I probably want to do it, but if it's something more serious than an inflation adjustment, it's not 5%, it's 20%, 50%, well, I'd like to be right on that,
Mhm.
and I don't know.
I don't know. I have no other information besides a yearly inflation count at this point.
Yeah, because we can't, the first study Raftell's did was based on the overall value of our system, which calculated out to, we couldn't raise it. So then we went to interest, but the capacity one's the way to go, because keep in mind that you're gonna look at, coming through our next discussion, coming through Solterra there, we're already at, we're gonna be at 0.76 coming through those wastewater lines, which is on our new rules and regs over capacity.
Right.
So everything changes with capacity. So that's why, we like to correlate what JBA is doing with the full modeling to everybody else we use, because it protects the district and makes the developers pay their own way, because
Right.
JBA has the data to back it up.
So I'll proceed with that, and if you think of a different way to tackle development fees, bring it forward. And be true. With the FICA spreadsheet,
Yeah, FICA spreadsheet, we did the data from JBA, we just got a lot of data today. The holdup on that was I sent it out to the board. You see the holdup was trying to figure out the lifespan of the pipes that we have, since we have so many different pipes since we've been around for 60 years. And then the cost to replace those pipes, which keeps going up. So, there's the cost to buy the pipe, but there's the cost to actually dig it up and replace it. So that's going into the calculation. So that FICA spreadsheet will probably be completely done. Then you can correlate that, give that to Raftellus too, if you want. So it'll be backed up by JBA also.
when you estimate that will be done.
Hopefully, before the next board meeting. Sorry it took so long, it just took a long time to get the data. It's kind of like, reinvent, we had to take something that was used for Lockheed Martin for building maintenance and convert it for utility water and wastewater systems, so that's why it took so long.
Okay. All right, well, if it can be done by the end of next meeting, it has been a while, then we'll go with that, and otherwise we'll have to maybe look at pivoting on how to make that happen. I think. I don't think I have anything else on the fee study. Any other questions on that? Okay, move on to item 10B, a supermajority vote. Director Whitman?
You want to take it?
No.
I sent out the language to everybody the last 24 hours or so, any questions on that? Hopefully we tinkered around with the wording quite a bit, and I think pretty close enough at this point.
A bit of a tangent, but I thought we also touched on the supermajority, not only for extraterritorial services, but also the removal of a director. That was touched on lightly at one of our meetings. Would we care to combine the two,
What do you mean by removal of a director?
I thought
missed
there
that.
was some discussion that we needed we would consider a supermajority to remove a director. Maybe I misunderstood.
That's kind of news to me. To me, it's all.
We can actually remove directors?
No. So there's no provision for removing a director other than the recall provisions. So,
Okay,
I think that may have been a misunderstanding.
Was that censured? Was that?
We may have discussed censure or admonishment. I think we touched on adding directors. It's a possibility that you could convert from a 5-director board to a 7-director board.
all right.
Well, that was one of the things that I'm working on this last month, and that was, what is the supermajority? Right now, it's 4. I was like, what if the board was increased? Well, the board can only be increased to 7. And so at worst, that's as much as you got. Well, if you went to 7, and 2/3 would be 5. So it's not a big difference one way or the other, but we kind of agonized over that one for a while.
What about this idea that Jeff Baker suggested waiting another month? What was the reasoning behind that? Do we know?
Well, it did not, it was only noticed yesterday on the agenda, and the actual words were not posted for a resolution, which we do not often do, but it could be done.
So at the last meeting, the board voted to amend the bylaws to require, the specific motion was an adoption of the agenda language from the last meeting, and I don't recall that offhand. Essentially, it was to require a supermajority vote for extraterritorial service in the future. And the board directed me to prepare language reflecting that vote in the bylaws. I did prepare language, I circulated it and got some comments and have made a couple other revisions based on those comments. So I didn't print additional copies, I only printed reference copies for myself, but essentially the non-controversial language addition is any action of the board which shall have the effect of establishing, increasing, or expanding extraterritorial service shall require the affirmative vote of. So that's the part that's not at issue. And then one option is of 4 directors. That is just simply a flat number. One option is of no less than 2/3 of the directors present and voting. And that's 2/3, which you round up, because like with the tie, if you don't get the tie, if you don't get a majority, you don't pass it. Mr. Director Wickman had some questions about the present and voting. And so, for example, if there were only 3 directors in attendance, it would be 2/3 of present and voting, so it would only be 2 directors under those circumstances. And I think I think the Director Wickman's concern is that that doesn't accomplish the sort of spirit of the requirement. So the third alternative is of no less than 2/3 of the directors then comprising the board.
Well, do we have a quorum with 3 directors?
Yes. That's the minimum. Under
I like the idea of a solid even number 4.
I actually agree with you, Roger. I mean, to me, I'm not, I mean, to discuss kind of 2 things. One, a 7-person board, I don't think I would like that, because I think we already have plenty of spirited conversations that last a very long time. And I think if we add 2 more voices into that, we're going to go from 6 hours to 12 hours. And I don't really want to be here the next morning. So 5 is a really good board number for me. On that note, I like Roger's idea of the 4, a minimum of 4. So like, if you did have 4 present and a 5th was absent, I would be okay with those 4, because in a regular setting, that would qualify anyway. So I'm just saying, I personally would be okay with that.
Well, I would be too. And like I say, it only got into an issue when, some of us are contingency things like, how could this be thwarted? How could they get around this? I mean, I don't want to set 7 members either, but the point is, it could happen. And if it did, if somehow the board got increased to 7, then all of a sudden you're 4. It's not really.
Well, do we need a super majority to increase our board to 7?
You don't.
Oh,
It would be a simple majority, although it is a statutory process. It wouldn't happen very
Okay.
quickly.
Well, that's just my thoughts.
well, I can live with the 4. I mean, that's what we proposed originally. And we're just trying to anticipate what could go wrong.
Well, yeah, and that, to me, you would, I mean, I would like to think that then people are not backdooring that, it's not like, you'd have to have virtually the whole board on board to do something, not part of them. So,
Yeah, that's what we got obsessive with, like, how could this be defeated? I mean, the forces of evil, how could they come in? And that's where you get pretty creative thinking. And that's what we try to chop off any of that creative stuff.
right. So then tonight, are we then looking at just adding that additional verbiage to that, one of those options?
Or not,
Well-
approved language I
Well,
presented.
then I would,
comments.
okay, well, then I'd like to make a motion that we approve the language which Dylan has proposed. Except that we enter that there is a minimum of 4 directors that vote affirmatively for.
See if that reflects your design.
I don't.
I only brought the one, we can pass it around.
You care.
That is, that says exactly what I wanted to say. Yep, I'm good with that.
Maybe somebody could read it out loud for the record.
Yes.
Okay, I guess the key language, of course, is this additional language. Any action of the board which shall have the effect of establishing, increasing, or expanding extraterritorial service shall require the affirmative vote of 4 directors.
And,
So that's the only difference.
well, I mean, if you wouldn't mind reading the whole thing.
Hold on. Well, section B, voting requirements. Any action of the board shall require an affirmative vote of a majority of directors present and voting. Any action of the board which shall have the effect of establishing, increasing, or expanding extraterritorial service shall require the affirmative vote of 4 directors. When special or emergency circumstances affecting the affairs of the district and health and safety of district residents so dictate, then those directors available at the time may undertake whatever action is considered necessary and may so instruct the district employees. A voice vote must be taken via telephone or electronically through online means over the internet. All emergency actions shall be approved at the next board meeting by a vote of a quorum.
Could you explain that last couple of sentences then?
Yeah, already.
It was already in there.
And
And
then
then
could you explain it though?
Sure.
What does it mean? There's an emergency and
Yeah, if there is, for example, I don't know, a very good example necessarily, but if there's a main break that's going to require coordination with other entities and only one director is available because it's or something, then one director can instruct this district staff to do whatever expense is necessary to accomplish the emergency measures at that moment. Whatever that non-official action of the board is, must be ratified by a quorum of the board at the next meeting.
okay.
it occurred to me, now I'm remembering the other issue is if we don't put what's called that savings clause in there, that trying to get around it, somebody could come in and sit there and say that we're going to change the bylaws to require 2 votes, something like that, reverse this. And so the idea was to prevent somebody from reversing our action casually, that a reversal would also require a super majority vote of 4 to reverse it. That's kind of the savings concept.
Yeah, so that was under discussion at the last board meeting, and there were some proposals, that was not voted on or approved, so I do not have proposed language for that.
So does anyone want to second my motion?
What was your motion to adopt
We-
this and have it added to the bylaws?
Correct.
I'd second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you for your leadership on that, Director Brickman.
So if you're interested in having that, the savings clause added, I believe that that's a separate motion and
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah, well, that, I'll tell you what, the wheels are turning, Henderson was gonna be some ideas too. So yeah, I'm thinking that savings clause and some Henderson stuff, I may come back in the future with some other ideas, but for the time being, we've been making progress. Progress is a good thing.
No way. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Excellent. All right,
That's,
thank you.
sorry. That doesn't include the cost of ballots, just an election question. That was just the official CRS, but we have to pay for the ballots too.
All right, without anything else on that one, we'll move into 10C legislative update. I just wanted to let you all know, if you didn't already, our state legislative session ended. Only thing that we had pending at the district was opposition to Senate Bill 213. I can't even tell you where that ended up in terms of water district amendments and what was going on. At one point, there was a clause in there that said the state would have to consult with water providers on being able to provide water. Anybody who knows anything about state laws says you can consult all you want, but that doesn't mean you have to do anything. And we are not a water provider, so they would not be consulting us. So I still thought that was worth opposing all the way through, but it went so fast. That was, again, CRS did a fabulous job of keeping me updated and, you know, told us before.
You must have been getting emails every hour. I mean, talk about
It was
fast.
crazy.
That thing was moving.
It was crazy, so. I'm glad to know what was going on, but that's all we have going on down there.
Well, not the same thing, but perhaps related. The city's talking in terms of they want to look at changing the rules for metro districts. And I assume nobody has any idea what that's all about.
No clue.
Yeah, we gotta be following it because they're up to something as always.
Yeah,
I just don't know what.
no clue. All right, move into legal matters. Mr. Woods, do you have a general update?
I do. Yeah, I gave the election update such as my involvement is concerned and the resolution. I already provided my update on the ravine structure matter and the 1078 Alkire matter. I will work with, like I said, I'll work with Dave Garner to get his oath executed and filed and get him his certificate of appointment, so he'll be seated at the next meeting. Jeff, I will work with you through whatever extent you need on contracts for the respec and RG engineering
Thank you.
projects. And I think at the last meeting, there was a request for just a general update on all of the litigation matters of the district. So without going into attorney-client privileged communications, I'll just describe the lawsuits that the district is in, and the near litigation matters associated with them. There's the Big Sky case, which is, there is no action occurring in that because the mandate has not issued from the Court of Appeals. You have hired Ogborn Mem to represent you in the defense of that case. They are on board. Mike Ogborn is lead attorney on that. He's been in communication with Scott Gessler. Scott and he have executed a substitution of counsel. So Gessler Blue is now no longer counsel of record on the case, and Ogborn Mem is. My firm is also counsel of record. That's how I get the litigation updates that I send to you guys. Mike would like to attend a meeting and tell you about, give you his strategy and his guidance and solicit information from you guys when there's something to do. So he's not here tonight because the the mandate has an issue. So there's no action to take. My understanding from speaking with him is that he's getting documents from Scott and he'll probably be pulling from the district also. In addition to the documents that have been filed in the case, reviewing depositions that were previously taken, the pleadings that are in the case. And he's developing his strategy.
Do you have a sense as to what the timing of the next events will be?
The mandate could not issue prior to, I think, May 5th. So it could happen any day now. When it does, it'll probably take a couple of weeks for the district court to actually take action on that.
Well, theoretically, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, theoretically, in a couple of weeks, the district court will have jurisdiction again. My best guess as to when's action will actually happen, like a status conference or an order issues or a request for scheduling or something like that. Just probably mid-May. Oh, discovery? No, I don't think we'll ramp up to active discovery until July. I don't even know if there's any discovery left. That may have closed. I don't know. Not scope of work.
Well, not my scope either. And I guess, when it's an appeal, you have to use the record from the previous court. But since we're starting over,
Well, we're restarting. So,
We're kind of back at square one.
well, we're not. I don't know what square we're at, but it's not square one. If you go 1 to 20, you were at like 17. You were gearing up for trial. So you were somewhere between 13 and 17, I'd say.
so are we kind of stuck with everything that happened before?
You're going back to 13 or 17, wherever you were, and maybe you're gonna add up to 25 because you're not gonna get a trial date until 2024 at this point.
Well, what I'm looking for is, can we enhance what we had before? I mean, I don't know how good it was. We sort of won, so yay, but I'd like to enhance it even, because it wasn't good enough for appeal. So, hoping we can enhance it, but this time's the win.
There will certainly be additional trial preparation that happens, yes.
I too would like to hear, I would be more comfortable if we could have a special meeting even before something happens, because we don't even know these people. So I would feel more comfortable if we could talk to them and have a special meeting and hear their initial thoughts on the case and a conversation, even if we don't get into substantive work. But I would feel even better the sooner we have strategy, and it sounds like we're gonna meet in mid-May is next week. So would it be possible to get them to do a special meeting next week
I guess, I imagine, yeah.
and just get the ball rolling? How does everybody else feel about that?
Yeah, next week would be great, if possible. The 20th to the end of the month, I'll be away.
But yeah, definitely, I'm not a real detailed person, so ordinarily, I can't go with the flow. But on court cases, I'm kind of obsessive about details, so yeah, I like to be following that closely.
And that would be, we haven't gotten into the weeds a lot. I'm sure you both have a lot of questions. We do have new Director Gardner, so we're kind of starting over with directors, so it may be, they may be fine, but I think we may still have some questions. So, next, what's today?
16.
The 16th would be next Tuesday. Everybody still free on Tuesdays?
Would Mr. Gardner be on board by then?
Yeah, I can get that all done by Tuesday.
Last year, Doug did the oaths and I scanned him to Dolas, whatever you want.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever is easy.
Dave, you're in town, right? Yeah, I'll reach out.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I have a second surgery next Tuesday.
How are you doing? What's the timing on that, Dave? I'm glad I hope it went well today.
I'm not in pain, which is an incredible experience. Having someone mess around with your eye and come away from that and not feel too terrible other than the effects of the Valium. If it hadn't been for the Valium, I would have been there tonight, but I just happened to fall asleep during, your discussion. So I can try, if you don't mind looking at me being kind of swollen. I can try to be there because
Join the following week by Zoom,
Okay.
if that helps.
We have, if we can look at Wednesday or Thursday of next week as well.
Yeah, it's kind of my first thought is, I don't know where they're at, but a week from now, it's kind of short. It's like, are they ready to go?
Are they ready? Yeah.
I mean, I was, if I was them. I'd be
Well, are we still better off to wait till it is mandated, even if it's at the end of the month?
I don't think there's any real harm in, I think Karen's point is a good one. We've never talked to these attorneys, so I don't think there's any harm in getting them in sooner. It may be that they say, yeah, we haven't completed our strategy determination because X, Y, or Z. So it may not be as productive a conversation as if you waited, but I think you're gonna have another meeting in June.
Memorial Day is kind of putting everybody out of town.
Yeah,
Could I make a suggestion?
sure.
Why don't we ask the law firm when they would be ready to talk to us? And then make a decision.
I think they said they didn't need to talk to us, and it was my request. Is that? I'm trying to look.
Mike's ready to talk to you anytime, is what I heard. He's ready and willing to. I asked him to either provide a written memorandum or attend a meeting, and he said he would prefer to attend a meeting.
So what about,
I can support next Tuesday. I just might have to do it by Zoom. I would apologize for that, but it's possible.
well, I don't think we can, can we all look at the 18th, that's next Thursday, or the following Tuesday, the 23rd? It is not imperative we do it next Tuesday. I've just thrown out dates because we don't know if they're and we have another board on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I have a board meeting every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. So,
So is Memorial Day weekend like the 27th, 28th, and 29th?
Yes.
think-
Memorial Day is the Tuesday.
Okay.
so after this night, Tuesdays aren't going to work at all anyway. for you.
Well,
So, we
I
should-
don't think I'm essential,
okay,
frankly.
okay.
So if it works for the board and it works for Mike, I think do it when it's convenient for those 6 people.
All right, I'm sitting in your chair if you're not here, I'm just.
That's fine.
We have to go executive session.
Yeah, I can have John or any of them
Okay,
to run the executive session.
okay, so can we look at the 18th or the 23rd and you'll see if you can, are you okay
I
with
could be, yeah, I can be here on the 18th.
on the 18th?
The 23rd, I'd have to do it remote, which I can.
Okay. And then we'll see which one they're available for.
The 18th or 23rd.
18th or 23rd, everybody can check those out.
I have no. So,
I'm sure as soon as I see those, I'll find out. I leave my Tuesdays free, but the rest of them, who knows? Okay, all right. I would just feel more comfortable getting that ball. Any other general legal questions?
No. Do we need to make a motion to move into executive session?
Well, I have,
Oh,
that was the first litigation.
Oh, that was
So
one.
just a general update. The board also instructed us to pursue litigation on the red zone tank matter, and to pursue the bond. My partner John is working with counsel for the bond company and with Mr. Tyus to get them some documentation to substantiate the damages calculations that we have. That's where that is. Also tracking the litigation. So drafting the complaint for litigation and pursuing the bond on the dual track process.
So if we get money from the bond, does that then essentially stop the lawsuit because we have been compensated?
It may.
Okay.
Yeah, if you get, probably if you get a substantial recovery from the bond company, I would recommend that you not continue pursuing the
Well,
litigation.
that makes sense to me. That's why I was just curious.
Right, yeah, but it wouldn't obligate you to.
Okay.
The district is also in a stayed suit against, its former law firm, Eisnogel, on the basis of purported malpractice for the drafting and execution and advice regarding the Big Sky IGA originally. Because the Big Sky litigation, the underlying litigation is unresolved, that case is just stayed. Every 6 months, I do a status report with the district court in Denver saying that, and that status report is due May 24th. So I'll file that again. The directors and the district are no longer parties to the federal employment discrimination suit filed by former counsel Joe Timmons, but it is an active case because Mr. Henderson was a co-defendant. He is now the sole defendant in that case. So it goes on, but the district is no longer directly involved as a party. And likewise, Brookfield / Solterra has sued Fossil Ridge Metropolitan District for purposes of achieving their complete build out of the Fossil Ridge development. That's set for hearing at the end of June 28th.
And their strategy is they're trying to amend the service plan.
Their argument is that Fossil Ridge's refusal to provide service in coordination with Green Mountain operates as an amendment to their service plan, which they are seeking to prevent. So it's kind of convoluted, but it remains my position that the district is not a party to that suit, and the court has no jurisdiction to enter orders
Against us.
obligating me to do anything. I'm anticipating some pre-hearing orders from the court that might change that. But until we hear from the court, my recommendation is that you stay the course on that argument.
On the Timmons case, did you find out about the records hold? We're supposed to be holding all of our.
Right. Yeah,
It's still pertinent.
it's not. We can release that.
Thank you.
You're no longer a party to it. You're no longer subject to. No longer under threat of litigation. Yeah, so that can be released. That's my non-privileged communications.
So now can I make a motion to move into executive session?
Is that? Yes,
That was just the next thing on the agenda.
yes, thank you. So moved.
So moved
For what purpose?
for the purpose
Good
of
purpose.
reviewing the legal matters. Getting legal advice regarding the Solterra litigation and the Big Sky litigation. Unless you feel it's been sufficiently covered.
I don't really have much more specifically to say. If you have particular questions
I
that
do
you feel
not.
I have not addressed, I'm happy to answer them, but at this point, what I said is the bulk of what I would have to say.
Tempted to go dig a little deeper, and I didn't because I knew we were still open. Do I need to dig deeper? Well, I did want a little bit more about the Solterra one. That one's interesting. Well, I mean, they're all interesting. I go with the flow, whatever you guys want to do.
And I withdraw.
I'm
my
open
motion.
to either direction.
I withdraw my motion.
I have some more questions that probably are not privileged. One, there was a change of judge on the magistrate judge. I don't know what case that was.
Oh, in federal district court, yeah,
I thought it was a district court that changed.
it was the case was the Timmons suit was transferred from one federal magistrate.
I don't care about that one.
Well,
But
that-
I just wondered, but I didn't know what case. I'm thinking that was that. Did I get my judges right?
Yeah.
That was the magistrate one for it. Okay.
Yeah,
But I'm thinking it was I get it mixed up, Big Sky or the Solterra one. I thought that they, thinking it went to district, and knew it was a new district judge because somebody moved out or something like
yeah,
that.
so Big Sky litigation was started under Judge Bachmeyer. She retired and, the case was reassigned to, I don't think he was directly her successor. I can't recall the judge's name right
That's
now.
probably what I'm thinking. Of course, my question is, how could that influence? Do we know this judge? Do we have any?
Well, the judge that's trying the case now is the same judge that conducted the final 4 months or so of the trial matter originally. He's the one who wrote the order for summary judgment. Judge Bachmeyer's retirement happened in 2000, I think.
Oh, yeah, okay, that was an interruption early in the process. And so the final judge is,
2020, sorry, not 2000.
but the new judge now is not new. They were
Right,
where we last left off.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
same trial court.
Okay, because that was my question, like, what was that change gonna do? Was. Okay,
And Judge Offler is the judge on the Fossil Ridge case. That matters.
I don't know about it.
They referenced in the hearing that there was a quora they didn't receive.
Yeah, I've been working with Jesse on putting that together. They cored both Fossil Ridge and Green Mountain for essentially every document related to the Fossil Ridge area. So they've got about 30,000 documents.
Wow.
Yeah.
What'd you say it was, 6 gigabytes?
No.
How much do we charge for that?
It's 30,000
How much do we charge for that?
hourly, except the first hour is free. So I think Jesse told me it was about 20 hours just to pull together the documents and they're not finished reviewing them.
So what are they doing in the meantime? Theoretically, they're supposed to be just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, looking at dirt.
I don't know what is happening on the ground in the Fossil Ridge area.
We still maintain the existing line, sewer lines that are in service, so we jetted those. But we don't know anything else. We have no inspections or no say so if they're putting in anything.
Okay, well, the ones that they haven't get started on, obviously not doing anything, but there were a couple like, we're in midstream and are they frozen? Are they still doing any midstream stuff?
We haven't been out there to look. We never approved their drawings, so nothing's approved. So all there's, the first filing 18 drawing sitting on my desk still that they gave us like last July, so it's not approved. So if they're doing anything, it's not approved by us. So plus it's not inspected.
So these last few months, they haven't done a darn thing.
We haven't been out there.
Okay,
We don't know. I believe that the 80 some odd equivalent. I believe the request for the final 87 was accelerated to the district to get in before the January 15th date. So I think that under normal circumstances, the development process would have continued for several more months anyway.
sure.
So I think there's probably something occurring. I don't think it's breaking ground, but I don't have any.
Yeah, well, that was my question. My impression was like there was 5 or 6 or 10 that were in the mid shovels, just about ready to hit the ground. I was like, oh. We pulled it back. I was like,
Well, every week I get automatic email to approve those 87 certificates.
Oh, really?
I don't know, every Monday I get,
From them,
yeah.
It's always worth a try, you never know.
So every Monday I get 87 water or sewer certificates.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't know if this would be a privilege question or not, but they asked, they said they were reaching for a deposition from one of us.
Yeah, so, I had a conversation with counsel for Solterra, Brookfield and Fossil Ridge on Friday, about proposed discovery. Yeah, probably they're going to seek to depose somebody. It's called a 30B6 deposition. It's someone associated with the organization that has knowledge. And that's probably gonna be Jeff. And for pre-2022 stuff, I'll talk to district staff about who has that knowledge or who can acquire that knowledge. But that's, you can depose witnesses. So that is independent of our status as a party. In the suit.
But it probably won't be a director.
He will not be a director. No, no director would have the knowledge, probably, that they're seeking. I haven't gotten their topic lists yet, but
I plead the fifth.
I need to go home. To my knowledge, no one has committed any criminal actions, so.
I don't know, he looks so special, man.
Based on the advice of my attorney, I plead the fifth.
So, yeah, so if there is a deposition, I'll get there probably will be, I'll get the topic lists, I'll work with Jeff to figure out who has the knowledge and we'll do the deposition. And they'll depose somebody with Fossil Ridge. Fossil Ridge sounds like is going to seek to depose somebody with Brookfield also. But that's.
Well, I got the impression Fossil Ridge seemed to be pretty tough. You were at their meeting, right? That status conference a couple days ago.
Yeah, so I attended the status conference with the court and I also participated in the informal discovery conversation among counsel. Yes. I think Fossil Ridge's attorneys are intent on litigating the matter. Sure.
All right, any other questions? No need for executive session, no other legal questions.
I mean, yeah, feel free to call me or email me with questions if they come up.
Excellent. On to item 13, new business. As usual, that's me. I'd like to ask, it's not, I don't know who to even ask, but at one point we were talking when I first started on the board about putting board packets online for people to see what we were doing. And that was non-standard. That was all standard items. So that would be at this point, the district manager report, the financial update. And if things were ready, like the resolution, that would be fine, but staff has to get that ready by Friday when the agenda was posted. And I have this vague memory of that actually happening. Since you're here, do you remember that ever happening, that we post the board packets with the agenda?
There were a couple meetings that happened,
And
some contentious meetings where it was like, get the board packet out beforehand.
But at that, you're right, and then at that point, we hadn't actually approved the bylaws, so then we took it off and then we never restarted it again when the bylaws were passed. It was just a mess, but the bylaws are set up as written to post the board packet online. I don't think we need to do anything except reiterate the board desire to make that information public and post it with the agenda and the whole board packet on Fridays.
It is posted
The
on
board
Fridays.
packet is posted.
Everything is posted.
Yeah, but it's taken down. We can leave it on longer if you want, but it's posted on Fridays
Okay,
with the
okay,
with
but
the
not the
agenda.
past ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So if
okay.
you want, we can leave them all up there. It's easy.
I think that would, yeah, just leave it as it was with the agenda and the board packet.
Just leave them
Or
up.
I'll just leave it,
Yeah.
yes.
You mean,
Why did we take it down?
I'm just
I don't,
tradition.
I don't think, yeah, it just was like, we posted the
Yeah.
agenda, the minutes, and now the link to the video. Just don't think it ever came up that the board packet would also go, we have it like listed for the special meeting here on the 12, 13.
So are you saying like leaving these out there in perpetuity? Like,
Leave them out there for a year or something.
However, they go with the rest of the agendas, yeah, post it the Friday before the meeting and keep it on there with the agenda, just like it is for all the other agendas,
So,
yeah.
so there's
You
like a packet link or whatever.
And I wouldn't,
I think what happened is that
There you go.
just as a matter of custom, the minutes just replaced the packet.
maybe,
Yeah.
but they don't need, if it was attached to the agenda to begin with, because you're saying right now, if you pick the meeting for tonight,
It's right here.
oh, the board packet is separate.
So it's agenda, draft
Yeah.
agenda, which, you know, we just,
Yeah.
normally we wouldn't have this, it's just, that was how we said, here's the first agenda, here's the other
Yeah.
agenda. And then there's the board packet link, and then there's the link to the meeting. So normally it's just agenda, board packet, meeting link.
Okay,
And then, yeah, I don't have a good answer in my brain. Maybe there was something, maybe the board said something or whatever.
I don't think we ever processed it. In
There's
my mind, it
So
goes
many
together.
things that have happened in 3 years that it's hard to remember which
Yeah.
thing the board has done.
Well, the other thing I remember.
I've been muted. I've been trying to weigh in. I think that there was some confusion during budget time with people looking at different packets that didn't have the most up-to-date budget. So there was a decision made, and that was back when Greg was here, to just pull previous versions and only keep the current board packet so people wouldn't be looking at the wrong items.
That was Sam, by the way. Sam, thanks, Sam.
Well, going way back, what I remember, it was some concern that we'd be letting out secret information as to where our pipes were, and the rest of them to blow them up, or something like that. We were trying to make sure we weren't letting out secret information.
No, there's nothing, all the board packets are audited by everybody, so we don't let any information go out.
That information wouldn't, it wouldn't go out into a board packet.
Yeah,
If there was something that couldn't go out into a board packet,
Yeah.
that would go to directors if it was something that the directors had to work on.
yeah, it wouldn't go public.
The only time that's ever occurred, we had the executive session to discuss like security stuff.
Well, the only thing, since you brought up the subject, that I would be interested in is right now the board packet goes through to like financial matters. And then directors matters are usually the ones that are the meaty stuff. And there's really nothing on there other than the words that are on the agenda. So I would like to see if we could sample language of what the motion would be, any backup data. Like, of course, on this super majority we just did, all that stuff that I sent out to you guys, that would have been good if it had been on the packet.
If that's the case, it would have to come in not on Monday. It
Well,
needs to
yeah,
be
no.
in the packet but preferably even before Friday.
Yeah, well, probably like a week before, or
Yeah.
something like that, and then that's fine.
Yeah, if there's stuff in there, I don't see any reason why, we just assemble what is going into.
right, whatever they have at that time.
We have no
Yeah, so-
finger on the scale, nothing.
Yeah, the procedure is I send out the agenda, like 8 to 9 days before we make the board packet.
Right.
So we always make the board packet on Friday, so then everything's polished, then it goes in the board packet on Friday before the Tuesday meeting. Then it's published, it's like that.
Well, if I'm gonna propose anything, which of course I've only done it the one time, I'll try to get that to you a week in advance and put it in there, because if I were a citizen, I like having all that stuff.
If there's something to put in there, absolutely, we can put any addendums, any other documentation that can go in the board packet, we can do that, like just, or send it.
I don't think
through Jeff.
the board packet it was only supposed to be the standard item so that we weren't stressing out Doug and trying to get everything in at the last day. So if there is something else, in the way we had discussed it before, that was board packet, that's standard done. And if you wanted anything else, separate resolutions noticed, you can ask for that to be to be asked, put it underneath there as a separate item.
Yeah, I mean, we can add more rows there. Obviously, we added the draft agenda line. It's not, we could add another line for a specific thing. Now, in this area, this is a module and we cannot infinitely add columns there. So, and they're pre-defined. This was like the board meeting
Right.
module. So like those columns, we can't keep adding additional whatever item was for that special meeting.
Well, I don't know, I mean, because to me, I don't want to, this is just me personally. I mean, it's great that the people have the information, but we don't need to become a 1,000% stuff out of every single thing, because to me, it's even like on the agenda. I mean, I see your concern. But I mean, if we start putting every bit of detail on this agenda, it's not really an agenda. It's more like a meeting packet. To me, like if you're wanting something, I would rather it be in the board packet as opposed to on the agenda itself.
And I guess I need to clarify where I'm going with this, because I hear what you're saying. I think I'm trying to do the same thing. Now I'm staring at the screen. So right now, we have packets that go to us. And that whole packet with, 30, 40 pages, in my mind, that can go to the public. It does not, is that currently?
It's
Right
right.
there.
Yeah, they
Well, yeah,
can.
okay, yeah, right there.
But
right there.
like say this language, like say whatever we adopt, it can certainly just be a page in the packet. I would just prefer it not be on the actual agenda. Because again, I think you're just gonna muddy up the agenda with.
And I think that's Dave's
Yeah.
suggestion.
Look, like what I did on this one that I did this month. I put on the agenda what it is just a long sentence. But I had backup, it was a page that I sent to you all guys.
Right.
And that page, I think, would have been useful for going out to the public.
Well, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, that's what
I'm just saying
thinking.
on the agenda itself, I don't want to have it muddied up with a bunch of
No.
little details and stuff. Because then to me, are they looking at the board packet or are they looking at the agenda?
No, I'm thinking the packet.
Okay,
Not
that
the-
makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Personally.
I thought we were talking about packet the whole time. I didn't really, we were talking about the agenda.
From-
No, I don't mean the agenda.
From the IT side, going into the packet
Packet, yes.
is nice for this lower module that I'm talking about, where agenda, packet, minutes and video
Right.
are pre-categorized.
Right.
And so, we can't continue to add something where it's like, well, this one meeting had this thing called this. It doesn't let you name it that way, so.
If I'm understanding your comment, if, as far as the packet right now, which is the current meeting, we can add a couple pages on there as a backup to an item, that's probably not a problem. But you're saying as far as historical, like if you want to see packages from the past, that really wouldn't be doable.
No, we can add the packet column. See right here on this one, we've got agenda, packet,
Oh, okay.
minutes and video. We can add packet. I'm just saying, any additional items would need to go in that packet.
Okay, right, well, that's one thing.
And that's what makes the most sense to me.
So for example, this meeting, rather than adding a link at the top to proposed bylaw language, I would just have provided Jesse the 3 bylaw language options last week, and he would have added them to the packet. They would be at the end corresponding to
The agenda.
the agenda item where they follow financial matters,
Right.
and they would have been accessible to the public.
Yeah.
And then in the
It's a-
future.
Jeff and Doug do the packets.
Oh, okay, Jeff.
Jeff and.
Yeah.
To the appropriate district staff member.
Yeah.
That's all I'm thinking.
Okay, makes sense to me.
And you would like the packets to remain on, so you would like there to be 4 columns.
Yes, I would like them to remain up, and if you want to name it a packet column, that'd be great. If you just want to attach it to the agenda, like you said, the agenda is the first page of the packet. Just call it agenda and have everything in there for that meeting. I didn't care, just.
Yeah, we can, I mean, the packet column is part of the module,
That'd be great.
so we'll just have to go back and grab the previous board packets and vote them.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Don't do, just.
I would
don't do
not,
it
don't
retroactive.
retroactively, I wouldn't.
oh, okay.
Yeah, just now.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the future.
Henceforth.
Henceforth.
Yes, great idea.
Okay,
I always wondered that too. Before I started, why don't we have to?
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Yeah, I would also like to go, going forward, look back at the district engineer option of perhaps hiring somebody, since we still have some gaps there. So I'm gonna think about that and bring forward a plan to talk about at the next meeting. I'll try and send it around before, so that you have time to think, but my point is, you think about that too, so you can, if you have any input into that, good idea or not, but that's the basic.
Are you thinking in terms of just the general idea, which already thinks a good idea? Are you trying to be specific? Here's specific engineers that we're looking at, like bids or something like that?
I'm thinking maybe on staff. Again, we had talked about that at one time,
But
and
is it general concept, or are you down to specificity? Like here's the job description.
I think I will probably put together a job description and look at hiring and how that would impact and things. This is what we,
So I might include a job announcement or something like that,
yeah,
that degree of specificity.
I probably will put together
Okay.
a plan, yes. And then whether or not we do all of that, but you know how I think, then I can get my details out and you talk about them or not.
Oh, well, since you're saying that, my pet peeve, it's two steps. So yeah, if you do that, like with anything on the first meeting, here's the thought,
Here's my thought.
and at the next meeting, we'll vote on it.
Okay, well, I don't know if we'll even, maybe we'll vote on a plan next time, that's as far as I anticipate we're getting, but I would like to do that, and I would like to figure out if there's something worth pursuing, if we can pursue it and do that before we get into budgeting for a new year, which will be coming up soon. Same thing with maybe looking ahead to, no, forget it, one thing at a time, so that's it. Also, new business, I would have came to me while we were talking here now. I did an abysmal job of recognizing who was making motions and seconding for the minutes. So when the minutes come out, will you all review them so that the voices get recognized in the minutes? So if you did something, make sure your voice is recognized on there, because I did not call that out. So, anybody else have new business?
I could potentially toss something out. When we have elections and new boards, usually there's eventually some point, I communicate with the board either in normal meeting, although the last time we did it in executive session. I think it would be prudent to maybe, do another, hey, it's a new year, let's talk about, like apprise the board of like state of the district from an IT and security standpoint, which I think would be good in executive session. I'd like to maybe bring our security consultant in as well for that. Would that be something the board would be interested in? Getting an update on that, having a meeting or having in like an executive session on that to discuss something.
I see one yes.
I would be interested.
For myself, I'd rather call and get any questions answered like that, but
This will be basically a workshop on cybersecurity.
Well, it would be not a workshop, no, and like an update of like, this is what we're doing, previously we had some discussions around some of that stuff, so.
You just talking about making a report.
Yeah, basically, but it needs to be. It needs to be an executive session because of the nature of it.
Okay, well, sure.
It's security related, so. I just don't know whether the board is curious to have that delivered all at once, or like Karen said, if that's something I'd rather just. If you have curiosity, check in when you're curious.
Yeah, I'd be curious, or I'd like to hear it all at once and have kind of a session on it. Update security threats, where we're at,
Yeah.
where we're headed, would be of interest to me.
That's why I'd really like to bring a consultant in, because they're painfully knowledgeable and can give you a lot of security industry knowledge that I'm not going to have. I can only talk to what we're doing here, but they could answer more broad spectrum
I
questions.
know you made a comment earlier in the evening. The rule on executive sessions is, because in his case, he's got a consultant that comes in and says, give us stuff that you can't go out in public. But you don't technically need to be here for that, do you?
Not that one, that wouldn't be attorney-client privilege, that would be.
Okay,
And it's actually recorded.
Yeah,
okay, so the executive sessions can be other than attorney-client privilege.
yeah, there are 6 categories of topic that can be discussed.
Well, that's what I said, well, like 15, that's what I was saying, it's like, you have to be here for all of them? Okay,
But you should probably have an attorney present if you're doing it under attorney-client privilege communications.
yeah, probably, it's probably a good idea.
That one would be sensitive security arrangements, which is subsection 6.
Request to put that on for executive session next meeting? More than one?
To me, it would be interesting, but I don't have to have it. So it's what you guys think. I'm very trusting of him and Sam.
Well, I guess part of it is how full the meeting is. I mean, it's not a high priority, so like.
Doesn't have to happen in June, could be July, could be never. Just wanted to throw that out there as something.
It's of interest to me, one of your sites here up on the hill, I noticed there were about a dozen parabolics on it. So to me, there's huge potential for intercept and, all kinds of problems, and I'd like to know more about it. But if the board's not interested in it, I can meet with them myself privately. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot of RF being exchanged around here throughout the district, as far as I can tell.
What is RF?
Radio
A
frequency.
lot of radio being transmitted, microwave.
Yeah, I wouldn't talk about a ton of what we do on meeting
Right,
anyways,
okay.
but
But I can see the antennas all over, and it caught my attention the other day.
Since we're free,
Potential for harm.
since we're free associating here, it thought occurred to me. We've had a couple, I know you hate that. We've had a couple people leave recently, like Austin. How are we doing? Are they creating any holes that we have problems with, or everything's still fine?
Yeah, we took care of, so far this year, just, Austin has left. And,
Well, there's somebody else left earlier. I mean, Austin was the big one in my mind.
yeah.
But, yeah, because somebody else.
Well,
left.
over a year ago, Luke left. He was a field tech, so over a year ago, Luke left and Austin.
I remember somebody got a better job, more money.
That was Austin.
I thought Austin was just kind of recently, and I didn't realize that was money. I thought this other one was going for the money.
Well,
The reason
he had multiple reasons.
the reason I'm asking, it's the old thing about if we're having gaps appear and we're gonna having staff problems, do we need to be, raising salaries and stuff like that? And everything seems fine, so I'm, letting the sleeping dog lie, but on the other hand, not so fine, we getting ahead of the problem.
So far, we're on average in the past 3 years, we lose one out of 22 staff members a year. For the past 2 years, one out of 22.
So the loss of Austin was not that big a deal.
Well, we miss Austin. We had, Josh came up, filled the spot because he's qualified.
Okay, cool.
So we'll let you, for now, call in, maybe arrange a conference and then if we can schedule something else at a later time, that'll work. Any other new business? Okay, motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
That was Roger.
For the record, that was wrong.
No, speak up if you're gonna correct it.
Did you make a motion to adjourn?
No, I did not.
Todd made a motion to adjourn.
I guess I'm missing this, all right.
And we, that's what people will take the minutes.
Oh.
Because
I wanted
they
to add-
listen to our recording.
Oh, no, I'm.
Aye.
good night, Internet.
Okay.